Yeah, yo, it's your truck driver. How the flock are you? Sangria, it's good shit. Sitting there watching the news as usual. You know me, I'm retired now. Don't have no money to go nowhere, do nothing. Can't afford to go on vacations. You know, the ex-wives pretty well destroyed me. In divorce, 2008, they're about the stock market crash and all that. Big corporations sucked everything dry, took all my 401ks, made them 201ks. And when I took what was left of the money out to survive through unemployment through 2008 through 2010, it was all gone. So the only thing I got left to survive on these days is Social Security. And I work part-times in the winter, plowing roads and salting roads for the state of New Jersey. That's how I make it through the year. But I was sitting there watching. And this time of the year, we're in May, coming in June. You got high school graduations, college graduations, commencement exercises, and all kinds of good crap like that. And then you see in the news where people like Condoleezza Rice is protested at Rutgers about giving a commencement speech. And there's been a few others, both sides, you know. There's always somebody out there with a thin skin, no common sense. The libtarbs, the socialist, communist professors, and the mush-minded people that they've created over the previous 4 years just parrot whatever the school administrations happen to say. But I've often wondered, I'm nobody special. I'm not especially brilliant. I'm not a super intellect. I've probably forgotten more of what I learned in school than what I remember. But what I remember is common sense. And if by some chance I could be like Bill and Hillary Clinton and give a commencement exercise for $500,000 to a bunch of mush-minded idiots that just spent over $100,000 to be educated by this socialist educational system, what would I talk to them about? Would I give the standard speech that, you know, you've invested 12 or 16 years of your life to become educated, and that when you graduate, the world is your oyster, and that you're going to go out there and right all the wrongs in this world, and you're going to make new discoveries and bring on the next generation, and everything's going to be goody two-shoes. Nah, not going to happen. Not going to be me. I'm going to give them a reality check. They ain't going to like it. The school administrators or the college administrators ain't going to like it. I'm going to tell them what reality is. You see, since I got out of Vietnam in the 60s, okay, I've watched the liberal, retard, socialist, communist, college professors, high school teachers, school systems destroy the minds of young people. Things that were right, good, and holy back in the 50s and the 60s are now considered something you can't do, something that's socially unacceptable. You can't say this word, you can't do that thing, because it's a violation of some such PC code. Hate speech. Islamophobia, homophobia, you name it. It's all out there. Trust me, I've been called a hypocrite, a bigot, a racist, and everything else in my 5 or 6 years here on YouTube, and been through 3 YouTube accounts, because I say it like I see it, and I piss off the thin-skinned little pussies that can't handle reality checks. I do it quite well, and I'm proud of it. But what would I say to 500 to 2,000 mush-minded little liberally, mentally destroyed idiots as they sit there in their cap and gowns with their short shorts on underneath and their halter tops or whatever else. And they got their little square boxy thing with a tassel on it on one side. As they just blew $100,000 to get a liberal arts degree on counting fuzz on a peach. Because most of the college courses today are about that equivalent. Most of the kids that take the hard courses, engineering, science, and stuff like that, have a snowball's chance of being employed when they get out. All the rest of these mush-minded morons that took the easy way out just to get a sheepskin, you know where we're going to see them in 6 to 9 months? Would you like fries with that? Would you like it supersized? That's a fact of life. But see, all these student loans that they took out, all the money that their parents gave them and signed for educational loans, now starts to come due. And they ain't got the money to pay it. And if you check with the federal government, a student loan is not excused in bankruptcy or anything else. You're hung with it the rest of your life until you pay it out. And most of these students with these student loans will be paying on these loans for 10 or 20 years. And if they go back and get a master's degree or work on a doctor's degree, by the end of about 12 years in college, they could be looking at $1 million in debt and have no way to pay for it. Oops. I look back at a video John Stossel put up a couple years back about college education's a ripoff. At first I looked at it and I laughed, and then I realized the reality of life. You know, every parent wants their progeny to end up better off than they are. This is the first generation that's not going to have that opportunity because of the big corporate conglomerates, the banking industry, and everything else, along with our government, that trashed the society that for over 230 years was on a rise, making good things, making better things, everything else. Being in space, technology, computers, you name it. Or as I say, from bobby pins to computers, the United States was the world leader. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative. For the last, I'm going to say, 15, 18 years, I've watched the system suck society dry. This year's graduating class, if they've got anything less than a hard science or financial thing as a degree, is going to be at Burger King, Walmart, CVS, and they're going to be working for, I don't know, minimum wage to maybe $12, $14 an hour. See, they got these ideas that were put into their heads by these teachers and these professors selling this garbage. And this is what I call the victimology mode. You owe it to me. I went to school. I blew $100,000. I don't care if it's not anything I can use. I got a certificate. You need to pay me thus and so. And then there's the reality check. And while I'm not exactly in love with Bill Gates and Microsoft, Bill Gates did at one time say it, that, you know what, you used to laugh at the nerds and pick on the nerds and all that, and one of these days you're going to wake up and realize you're working for one of these nerds. Why? Because they kept their nose to the grindstone, had a goal, went and got it. You ever see some of these interviews on some of these TVs, like, I don't know, Mark Dice, Waters World, stuff like that. They go out on the California beaches or over in Hawaii or even up here in the Northeast, asking these college types about simple, mundane stuff, current politics, people in politics, about world history. And they stick the microphone in the student's face. And what do you get? Duh, I don't know. This is the education system we have in America today. Common Core. There's a lot of things I don't like about it. It's like if you're not in lockstep with the system when they take this federal grants that says you got to do this, 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 or else. Whatever happened to the teacher that could design their own teaching course? And especially in the younger years. I remember my teachers from kindergarten up to 6th, 7th grade. They each had their own teaching plan. Of course, it was submitted to the principal and to the school board of what they intended to accomplish in their class over a given period of time. And maybe at times there were adjustments made to it. But it was up to each individual teacher as they saw, as they got the feeling for the students in their class, what they were interested in. And they kind of molded and varied it to pique the interest of the student. Not stand up like some fucking college professor with 2,000 students in a room preaching about one subject or the other. He doesn't give a damn about you. He doesn't know your name. You're just a computer-generated number that takes a test and you either make it or you don't make it. And trying to get an appointment with him to talk to him, unless you're some little hot babe, he can get into your pants. He'll never know you. And he doesn't give a damn about you. He's a tenured individual. That means it takes an act of Jesus to get him fired. And that doesn't matter whether it's high school, college, even elementary. But they stand up there preaching their bull crap. And these mush minds. I remember when I took a couple of courses over at Rutgers in Camden. This is back in the 70s. Trust me, I'm not the world's greatest student, especially when a teacher's up there speaking extemporaneously. Look that word up if you don't know what it means. And I'm sitting there with a ballpoint pen and one of these 5-subject folders, and I'm writing as fast as I can, trying to catch the notes of what he's saying and what's important and what I can bypass, besides the homework assignments. Trust me, I failed. But I did the best I could, and I got the bulk of what he said. I didn't quite make the grades. I got like a 68. And it came out of my pocket. I paid for those courses. The VA didn't pay for them. My employer didn't pay for them. I paid out of my own pocket to watch me fail. But I didn't have any student loans. And if I had been maybe just a little bit smarter and more efficient way back then, but I was married, had kids, had a job, would go to college 3 nights a week, come home, do 6 to 14 hours of studying. Somewhere in between, I had to be a father, a husband, a provider, a lover, and still get the job done. Now, I stopped and think my Uncle Fritz Fosdale did something like that up there in was it White Lake, New York, years and years ago with his wife and his kids. Probably a whole hell of a lot smarter than I am, but he did it and succeeded, worked for Sears for very many years, earned a good, decent living. But at that particular point in time, I did not have the wherewithal or anything else to be able to follow it up. I'd love to. I imagine I probably, if I could afford the time and had the time, paid my way through college on a part-time basis, it might have taken me 8 or 9 years to earn a bachelor's degree. But at the end of the 8 or 9 years, taking 1 or 2 courses here, 1 or 2 courses there, I'd have had my degree. And you know what? I wouldn't have had an ounce of debt. But see, it's so easy today. The system makes it so easy to sit there and say, oh, we'll get you student loans, we'll get you grants, we'll sit there and send you to this bank and they'll give you a grant and then you don't have to pay it off until you get out of school. In the meantime, the interest is accruing every year. People don't stop and think about that. So what's happening today with the people that were graduating in colleges and high schools? Well, let's see. We got people graduating especially in ghetto areas, that are graduating high school that read on an 8th grade level, don't know how to write cursive. A lot of these students that do go on to college from places like that have to take remedial training. I remember a time when a student might graduate high school and maybe his grades weren't up to where it was to be able to get into a big college. But then they developed a thing called community college. It was sort of like a graduation place where you go from high school to the community college. You bone up, you get your feet under you, decide what you're going to do, where you're going to do, what field you want to study in, and bone up on stuff that you're weak at. And then you go after the college. And then there's idiots like me that sat there and said, well, maybe I don't have the horsepower to go through all that. I went through vocational school. I can remember a time people used to think anybody that went to a vocational school was an idiot, couldn't cut the mustard or anything else. There's another video out there by John Stossel. People that graduate high school go into vocational training. They get on-the-job training, whether it's nursing, auto mechanics, you name it. These guys get out. They don't have a big bill for going to school. They're earning $40,000 to $70,000 a year, while these college types are $100,000, $200,000 in the hole for their education. And when they graduate, they can't find a job. So tell me, people, if I was to sit there and give a commencement speech at some high school or college somewhere, what would I talk about? Would it be politically offensive? Would it be socially unaccepted? Would it be considered a bigot, a hypocrite, or a racist, or a homophobe, or an Islamophobe, or whatever kind of phobe you want to think about? I don't know. You tell me. I'm just asking the questions. But see, things like this run through my mind when I see these people get up and give these speeches about, wow, man, you just went through it. You got the world by the ass. You're going to kick ass and take names. And 9 months later, it's like, would you like fries with that? Yeah, it's just sitting there with a $100,000 bill for your school. Like I say, I just asked the questions. You come up with the freaking answers. Later.